Hi everyone, welcome to Friday's Tiara International going live on Facebook. Today it's myself, Betsy Sobiak, and with me we have Andrea Henning. She's
Hi, I'm here.
there she is. Hi. And then Beth Resky.
Hi, everybody.
And today's topic is going to be how we inspire leadership in others, which is something that, we've naturally done for really a decade since the start of our business. And in some ways it's built into the model we use and all of the tools, but it's not often that we explicitly talk about how you inspire someone else to step into their leadership in lots of different ways, whether it's a young person that you're mentoring, whether it's someone you're actually supervising as a boss or in a formal role, or even if it's just a colleague or a friend going through a tough time. So we're going to talk about it today in some way. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you. Welcome. We appreciate you watching us live on Facebook. You can like our Facebook page in order to get reminded whenever we do this. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel because these are always posted the week after. So either of those places you will get notified when we have a new video to share with you. So thank you. And if you're commenting on the live stream, we will tune into that and answer all of your comments and questions right after we're live. We don't always multitask the best, those of us who are here on Facebook Live. So we actually are live first, commenting second. Someday we might expand our capabilities a little bit more, but for right now, that's how we do it. So we are glad that you're there. Hi, and thank you. And you will hear from us after we're done with this particular component. So, inspiring leadership in others. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
So what's great is that you reminded me that this was the topic I wanted to talk about. So that's good that I was present to wanting to talk about this. I think, and Andrea, I want you to jump in here too. We have a phrase in Tiara that I think sometimes comes across rather trite. And that is that we say that we believe everybody is a leader in their life. And that belief, people are like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. But it's so fundamental to what we're talking about. So the first place I want to go is whether or not people actually think they're leaders in their life. And maybe what gets in the way of that. Because in order to inspire others, you have to be clear about, I think, yourself and what you're up to. So, Andrea, when we talk about, leading, having everyone lead their lives, like, what do you guys think about that? Being the leaders in their life?
Yeah, it's funny because it wakes people up to the fact that leadership is something different than the position. So, for us now, it's so normal that we talk about it, and we will go into that deeper. What does it actually mean? But just demystifying the fact that you don't need to have a leadership position to be a leader is food of thought for people, and opens up a totally new conversation right from the start. So I love it.
I think it's real different. Like if someone asks someone the question, are you a leader? I think that feels like a very different question than do you feel like you're leading your life? So I also feel like we constantly remind people that for us, when we talk about leadership, it's both leading your life and taking on the role of leader, where it might show up, whether it's in a personal way or at work. And I think it's fair for people to say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to be a leader. Because I think with there, you get the visibility, you have people you would assume following you, which you may or may not want. But still at the same time say, but of course I'd want to lead my life. And then I think it's even trickier, because even if someone says, yes, I want to lead my life, I want to be able to lead my life, I do feel like that we often feel some kind of stuck about a capability of doing that, whether it's because of a role that we are in, or because we're not in a power position, or because something has happened surprisingly that feels like it's limited the possibilities for us. So then it gets even trickier. So I think that we umbrella all of those when we talk about wanting to inspire leadership. Like we want people first of all, to be able to see where they can lead their lives, even in those moments where they feel really stuck, that they still have little spaces where they can lead their lives. Also, we want everyone to feel like they can lead their life in some way, that it's not outside the realm of possibility for them. And when someone feels ready, we would love for people to take leadership roles and be a leader and really claim leadership in a way that feels authentic and exciting, even if it does make you a little bit nervous.
Yeah, you guys to me, what I hear in that is we need to expand the definition of leadership. You know, leadership is not, I think people have a kind of a one-dimensional thought around when they hear the word leadership. And like you guys are saying, it's what we're talking about is be the leader in your life. And yes, there's leadership positions, but we're not talking about a hierarchical model of leadership, where, it's this one-dimensional model that I think a lot of us have grown up with, where there's one person at the top telling people what to do. That's leadership. And, that just doesn't fly anymore. Even though people will talk, and I think the majority of people now are talking about like, that's not leadership, they get that. But I still think there might be something ingrained in us, that we, kind of wait for others to take that first step or lead. Which is why I really think it's important for people to put the filter of being the leader in their life on first.
Absolutely, yeah. There was when years ago when we were talking about that, there was also a moment that I realized how competent you actually need to be in our society to make things work. I mean, whether it's paying taxes or following all the rules that are there. So we are naturally, I think, so competent in just surviving all the requirements of the society. And there was this moment that I really got that, what it took. This is also one of the things, like when, for instance, our kids, when they have to grow up, what they have to learn, all the stuff that they have to learn to actually make it through society in what it asks. You need to become pretty savvy to do that. Just that.
What do you think stops people? And we probably each of the three of us have a different answer, maybe, or maybe it's the same. What do you think stops people from stepping up? Betsy, you said a couple of those things, like, do I want to be a leader? Do I want people to follow me? But what are some of the things that if you in our business, we coach women and professional women from all walks of life, and really leaders in general. But what do we hear? What do we sense is like the top couple of things that actually prevent them from moving forward in a role like that for themselves?
Well, if you're talking about an actual leadership role, then I think often what we hear is that upper level management does want more people to feel empowered and to demonstrate leadership and to take on leadership in lots of different ways. Yet then a lot of times what we hear from our clients is that when they try, they're somehow shot down. Like either their idea isn't heard, or they're told that they don't have that, or the actual say, or they're not invited to the right meetings, or whatever. There's like something that makes it feel hard. Like everyone's like, we want you to be empowered. We want you to lead. We want leadership to come from all levels. We want everybody to have input. Like everyone says the right things when it comes to the highest level of leadership in the company, but the experience of people is like, that's not really true. Like I have an idea and it's overruled, or I tried one thing and I got in trouble, or whatever. Like you have to actually follow the systems or have the same way of thinking as the people at the top in order to really get there. And then it doesn't feel authentic because I might have ideas that go outside of that. So I feel like in an organization where someone's like, we want people to show leadership more at the grassroots level and not wait till they're in that formal role, there's a lot of ways that is stopped, and people then don't feel like it's worth it because it's like too hard and it feels like a waste of time and it feels stressful, and then they feel like they're seen actually as a troublemaker instead of a leader and all of that kind of stuff. And I think in someone's personal life, like what Andrea said, I feel like people are just getting done what they need to get done, and they don't always think about it in the context of leading their lives. And it's a little bit of a luxury, to be able to stop and reflect and take a moment and be like, well, which way do I want my life to go? And how do I want to show up in this scenario? And how do I want to occur as a leader for those around me? And if everything we're juggling, like a lot of times it just like, we don't have time to stop and reflect. We just got to get the next set of things done for our kids and our homes and our cars and our communities and whatever. So it really does take.
Yeah, you guys are talking about, I think years ago, we heard a statistic that less than 10% of the population actually stops and creates a plan for themselves, whether it's, for a year or multi-year, less than 10%. So we're talking about 90% of the population that might be a little unconscious about it, So that's also an interesting observation that you're bringing up.
Yeah. So you think that most of the people don't feel like they have a plan for their life, and then you feel like you go to work and most of your goals are handed down to you. Like it's understandable that a lot of people, whether it's professionally or in their life, that don't really feel like they're in the leadership spot.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, just like getting in touch with the idea that you actually are influential, and getting handed down some tools that you can actually experience it. Like, for instance, as being intentional about things, and by being intentional about things, that other things happen, then that life just happens to you. It's building that trust muscle, because also to be honest, like sometimes life is just hard. So it's also natural that we can get bogged down by life. And therefore, like getting some of the power back, getting some of the sense back that we actually are influential, makes a huge difference. And then, of course, that's the road then to more and more investigating what is it that I really stand for, and then getting more also into being influential in your community. And that's then the road that we say, actually being the leaders in your community. So at first it starts with leading your own life, and then also with your life and all the wisdom that you have gained and what you stand for, what you have deciphered as a purpose, as meaningful, then make a difference in a broader context. And whether that is in your community just close by privately, or whether it's then in an organization, that doesn't matter so much. And I think this is one of my favorite topics also, and you people might also like fight me on that, but I really love the idea that our lives are epic, that it's not just, they're not small. I mean, it's heroic how we make it through life in itself, and that you see that you really get in touch on a very deep level with the meaning of your life, and that also jives together with what is the meaning of life. So this whole investigation, if it wouldn't be for that, I don't know if I would want to be here anyway. Huh?
Well, the thing that's interesting when I listen to you is that I do feel like that we do really stand for people opening up and being leaders in their lives and leaders in their workplace and in their careers. And, the topic of this particular call is, how do you inspire leadership in others? And I do feel like sometimes, because I've had my own business since I was 30, or I am not married, I don't have kids. From the outside, people can say, well, it's easy for you. You can be a leader in your life because you don't have all the constraints that other people do. Like that doesn't apply to me. And also, with managers and senior executives and things like that, it's like, yeah, it's all fine and good to say that we want to empower everybody, but we still need to get things done by a certain time in a certain way, etc. So this question of like, how do you inspire leadership in others, no matter what, when you feel like you are a leader and have either a visible role in your company or your business, your organization, or you feel like you are someone who has a way that you feel like you are in the leadership seat of your life, like how do you give that away to other people all the time? When you might butt up against like excuses or people thinking, well, that's just you. That's just because of your style. And I'm thinking that, there's lots of different ways that I try to give that concept away, even to people like for example, last Saturday night, I had the fun opportunity of hanging out with my friends' kids. They're both just about to be 7, and they're awesome and fun. It's a boy and a girl. And so I got to hang out with them for a couple of hours. And the first, like, basically, we were going to have dinner, we were going to have dessert, and I was going to get them back to their house. And it's so easy, like in that role. Like in some ways, I'm the leader. I have the car keys, I have the plan, I can get everyone from like point A to point B. And so we started talking about dinner. And you know, for me, dinner in Chicago, like there's a million choices, and there's a lot of fun things to do, and a lot of good foods to try, and all this stuff. And you know, the girl, she's like, I really want to go to that McDonald's. You know, there's like a fancy McDonald's. And I was like, and I kicked the tires of it a little bit, like, well, what about this? Or what about this? Or what about that? And then they would talk to each other, and we would work some compromises. And we ended up making a decision to go to McDonald's for dinner, and then across the street for like a fancy dessert. And it was fine. But I could feel this like thing. And I feel it sometimes even at work, right? Where it's like, I want to do it my way. But what do I want more? Do I want to do it my way more because I think my way is better? Or would I rather give someone the experience of being heard and making a good decision and trying it their way? And their way is just as fine and just as fun and just as valid as mine. So in that moment, I was like, well, I'd rather her feel like we have a partnership and that her voice is heard and we're making a decision together than me make them go to like a restaurant they wouldn't be interested in at 7 years old because it's more fun for me. And I think it's like small things like that leaders don't know. And sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes it might be a little slower. Sometimes it might be letting go of your own way. Sometimes it might be, you know, doing something that is not your top priority. But in order to instill that feeling of dialogue, partnership, leadership, and trust with people in your organization or in your team.
You know, Betsy, what you're describing to me, the word that I wrote all over my notes this morning was confidence. Like, you know, to me, when you're instilling, you know, leadership, you know, and inspiring leadership in others, it's coming from a sense of confidence. Let me give you 2 different ends of the spectrum examples. I have some nephews who are they're 2 years old and they're twins and they're adorable. Gosh, they're adorable. And I happened to go by there this week, and it was, you know, dinner time, and they wanted to play outside. And so, you know, they were trying different things, and, you know, it was late and it was chilly and they wanted to play with the water, and we didn't want to play with water at that time. And so they kept going to the hose, and one of them wasn't strong enough to turn it on. And the other one is, you know, it's like his brute strength. So what I said to Macklin, I said, well, Macklin, how could you get the water on? You know, like I just asked the question, and he looked at me and he said, Mason. And he calls Mason over to turn the water on. And then Macklin turns with the hose and starts spraying us, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
So, you know, a little simple thing like that,
right.
That when you're inspiring leadership, it doesn't have to be rah-rah either. You know, that's the other thing.
Right.
Yeah. The other example I'll say is, again, it happens to be with a niece who's going through a very, very tough time right now. And, you know, she asked for some prayers and some good thoughts. And, you know, I don't want to barrage her. We're a big family. That could be 45 people calling and all that. And I waited a couple days, and I just sent her a note, you know, a text that just said, I am always thinking about you, even when you're not getting a text from me. I want you to know what a great woman you are, how proud I am of you, and how confident I am that you will know exactly what to do when the time is right. And that's all I said. And, you know, I think that doing little things like that is inspiring leadership in others. Mm-hmm. And it's confidence, I think.
Yeah, I'm also in the situation right now of mentoring 2 young women who are taking over an HR department of a company, and they're doing a great job. And it is exactly what you're saying, Beth, is it's just, instead of me in my role coming in and making it about me as a leader, it's more like, how do you support them in confidence? But that doesn't also mean not like holding people accountable, because also people feel really, they build that confidence over time when they can learn lessons and grow, and you build trust over time when you know that even if you make a mistake as a leader, someone has your back or something like that. And I'm also noticing that it is small things like taking it back. Like I want them to grow in their confidence. I want to make sure that they feel like they're the leaders of the department. And so even a small thing like on Wednesday, we had a meeting, I was on the meeting. It's my natural style to like document who's doing what at the end of a meeting. And I know in the company, we're also trying to work on accountability and meeting best practices and a couple things like that. So I did this thing, and then I sent it to those two young women to say, hey, I know this isn't a best practice that you guys use yet. Do you guys want to use it? Do you want to send this out to the team? Do you want me to send it out? And now there's a little delay because I haven't heard back because they're super busy. They're doing a million things. But to me, it was important to like really empower them as leaders instead of me coming through and even doing small things like that, like sending the notes from the meeting, making a decision and not including them into thinking it through, talking about something and then deciding something where they're not included. So again, handing leadership away, to me, the thing I'm hearing in this theme is also like dialogue and including people and trusting other people's decision and then letting people try it their way, you know, and then see what happens.
Yeah, letting people try it their way. I do the same now. I have a couple of teams where there is a team leader, and I love it that the team leader gets the podium, and I just fill in what supports whether it's tools or it's like how I know how to program meetings. But at the end of the day, it's like letting them shine, and also like having it an elevated experience for them, which means that it doesn't need, it can be a too big stretch for them. But at the same time, also working on their own self-awareness. What is it that scares you? Because there are all the things that are very much related to our personal fears that also need to be worked on, because when they're triggered, and people need to learn when is it that I'm triggered. So also the debrief of the experiences. What went well? What did you learn from that? And what did you bump up against? Because what I found is that people know themselves a lot better than we often think, and they can pinpoint pretty well what didn't go wrong. So it's this old way of feedbacking them that I back away a little bit. I let them find out themselves, and then also find out what would I need to do differently next time, or what would support me. So it's this whole learning, and the older I get, the more fun I have. That it's also leaving a legacy of my leadership with them.
Yeah, and I also think along the way, one of the things we always do is ask questions of someone. Like if someone is feeling stuck in some way, whether it's a personal thing around a parenting or a family or a home decision or even a work thing, like asking when they feel stuck, asking the questions for them to split apart like what the actual scenario is versus all the things that could go wrong, or all the things that have happened in the past, or all the things that they think, whether it's they have permission, they don't have permission, it's hard, it's easy, they'll be judged, they'll make a mistake, they don't want to be this kind of person, they want to be that kind of person. When you ask the right questions to get down to the core of what's the scenario, what's happened, what would you really love to have the outcome to be, what have you tried, what are all the possibilities of other things you could try, and how do you want to be in the scenario, what do you want to be known for, and then give them kind of that support to go for it, to have the conversation, to hold the meeting, to make the phone call. But just asking those questions and cutting through all of the different chaotic thinking into what's and what is it you would most desire, and what can you give a shot.
I think that's really practical, Betsy. You know, I think that's a really practical thing that we can do to inspire leaders. I think there's another tool that we use in Tiara, and we have them do a timeline, so, when we're talking about inspiring their own leadership, and again, not just, professional women, but anyone, sometimes we'll have them pull out a piece of paper and do a timeline and look back over their life and look at the places where they actually were acting like a leader, where they were actually happy with how things went. And when they can see that, and to your point too, Andrea, when they recognize it in themselves, that's just a tool that they can use to recognize, I already am that. And when they recognize that, it does help to build their self-trust and the confidence, to actually keep doing more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also to Betsy's point, like, especially when we talk about young leaders, they can be very talented, and they also need some kind of mentoring. And I would say that support is in whatever shape or form is, if you want to inspire leadership in others, how do they feel supported best? That was what you were saying, Betsy. So and everyone is different. So what might be supportive for one person might be something totally different for the other. So to have that conversation, and also having them open up to their concerns or their fears, that can really be inspiring. And that is something that a lot of young leaders miss in their lives, the support, especially if they are very talented, and then they can burn out pretty quickly and feel very, very insecure, whereas the outside world thinks that you're a high flyer or high potential, but the confidence and knowing that you're supported, that will really make a difference.
Betsy, you also used the phrase, like when you were doing the questioning, in terms of like thinking through, how do you want to be about this? And, to kind of paraphrase a Gandhi quote, instead of be the change you want to be in the world, what I like to say to some of the young leaders in particular is, be the leader you want to work for. Like, that's a great way of like, be that person. Mm-hmm. But I also think even if you're not in a business setting, I think, mm-hmm. Be the person that you want to be with is another way of just, an inspiring way to keep calling yourself, mm-hmm. to show up in a way that you're proud of. That's what I think is kind of the, mm-hmm. bottom line for me.
Yeah. I gave a card once, mm-hmm. to a friend of mine that on the front said, be the person you needed when you were younger. And I love that quote.
That's great.
Reminder.
Yes.
I think it does come down to, for us to lead our lives and our teams and our work that way, in a way that we feel like we're being the leader we would want. And then just our own personal experience of when it feels hard. Because even all three of us, we've been in situations where we feel like we have no control, we can't move forward, we don't feel like the circumstances are what we would want, we don't know how to solve the problem. Like, we've been in the depths of that, personally, and even as business owners, where it does not feel like, like if we were the leaders of our lives and work, we were doing a bad job, basically. Driven the train off the track, and we need to get it back on the track. So
are we about to have my review? Am I getting reviewed?
Right now, we're going to give your performance review. No, so I think part of it is really, leading your life that way, and your teams and your work. And then I think the themes I'm hearing are confidence. Like, how do you build confidence in others by giving them that accurate picture of who they are, the support they need to give it a try, listening to their ideas in a way that makes them feel heard, and then just separating out all the stuff that gets in the way of giving it a shot, of feeling like you're in control of the direction that you're going to go, and then, mm-hmm. finding just those ways that you can, whether it's with a 2-year-old and a hose, or someone who you're mentoring, like, how do you give them that moment where they feel like they have the spark of the idea, mm-hmm. it's a good idea, they're confident, and they can move forward. Acknowledgement, I guess, is a big piece of that. Like, then when someone does a thing, feel like, that was a good idea. Yeah. That worked out. Good job. Way to go.
Yeah, I feel like the analogy that just popped in my mind listening to you is, you're building a campfire, and when you see that first spark, you start to fan it, and maybe that's what inspiring leadership in others is all about, is fanning their flame, in a way that allows it to ignite.
And there sometimes, mm-hmm. are management roles and situations where you just have to, like, make decisions and go with them, that it might not be the time to listen to every idea, or it might be the time to really just say, okay, team, all hands on deck, we're going in this direction, let's go, without a lot of conversation. So we've all been in those situations too, and that's sometimes the exact right choice. And so we're really talking about when it's your calling to develop that leadership and that empowered mindset in others, and taking advantage of those opportunities and building them in more along the way.
Exactly. And one of the things that immediately goes together with leadership is like, why do people follow you? Inspiring leadership in others. Why would a person follow you? And what does it take? So it's also good to flip it around in that way. And then when really you need to be this leader who says we need to go that way, you will not be questioned. People follow that then because they trust you. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Any final thoughts, people? Okay, so again, we're live on Fridays around noon-ish Central Time, and you can like our Facebook page if you want to be reminded. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to view the videos there. We're Tiara International, focused on leadership development, and you can go to our website, tiara-leadership.com, and on the purchase page, you can always see our latest class, and we always have something happening virtually and online that you can participate from anywhere, so that if you feel like you need a dose of practicing being the leader in your life or in your work, there's an opportunity for you. So go there and look at our next ones. We have a 15 Days to Wow coming up in September, which is a great opportunity to get back into the driver's seat. So join us there if you want something a little bit more structured. All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.